Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Thursday, the 29th of January, 2015. Hope you're having a good trading week. We certainly had an outstanding trading day on Thursday after the markets gapped up, partly because of Apple and its news. There was a huge gap on the NASDAQ side, smaller gap on the broad market, and then we sold off all day, waited for the Fed, and then in the late afternoon, third wave after the Fed, things sold off again. We'll take a look at what that looks like intraday in a moment. Here's the ES front month futures contract. Sorry, I'm switching here to the S&P cash index. You can see where we are now on the cash index, heading back lower. Keep in mind, remember what we had talked about. If the first 3 days of January are solidly in one direction, usually the rest of the month you'll close the other way. So at least, in other words, in this case, first 3 days were down. Statistically, you then close above that level. We are just barely holding that level with 2 days left. Here's the NASDAQ 100 index. You can see at the beginning of January, first 3 days were down. We are still holding above that level. So that rule is holding true, but another sell-off like today, either tomorrow or Friday, and we'll actually be just under that. It'll be about flat. Well, depending on where we sell off to. Obviously, you can see this 40-90 level on the index. We break that, we're in some trouble. So the NASDAQ side ended up losing 25. S&P lost 27. NASDAQ, the SOX index, here's that, was down a little bit. Biotech index also down finally, playing with that moving average, which it hasn't really broken for a while. Here's the VIX, was back up 3 points and change to 2044 on the way back towards that green static trend line that has been resistance for a while. And crude oil closed at 46.23. Let's not go to 26. 46.23. It's back up a bit from the low of the day. It hit 44 again yesterday. So volume was closed at 1.8 billion NASDAQ shares, which is our 10-day moving average. I apologize. Volume was 1.9 and change. A lot of that was Apple. Apple was over 100 million ahead of where it normally would be. All right, let's take a look at the intraday action just so you can see it. Here's the S&P in 5 minutes. You can see we had a small gap up on the S&P. Traded flat for the first hour, sold off to fill the gap. We were basically dead flat, even for the day, going into lunch, right on the VWAP. The VWAP, the purple line, was flat for those 2 hours. Then the Fed announcement came out. We spiked up initially, headed down for the second wave, and then it was the third wave that comes in usually 30 to 40 minutes after the release of the news, where they have had a chance to digest the news, that we really sold off sharply. Here's a look at the NASDAQ side, a little more pronounced with the bigger gap up because of Apple. Came all the way back to fill the gap basically exactly, bounced a little bit and was holding in the green until that Fed announcement, then sold off, was break even going into the last hour for the day, and then everything just tanked. So a sell-off there on the NASDAQ side. What do we expect for tomorrow, Thursday? The Fed is now behind us. Economic data-wise, we have initial and continuing jobless claims. Those are the weekly numbers. And then pending home sales and natty gas. Don't forget that Friday, the big news is that we have the first look at gross domestic product for Q4. That's a big number that often gaps the market. Friday is also strangely, or not strangely, but it is the end of the month, which means a lot of times it'll be a dull session, especially when it is a Friday. The last day of the month's a Friday, because the funds head out for the weekend. They've already got the stocks about where they want them to close for the statements. So unless that GDP number is a surprise and really whoops the market around, I would imagine Friday is not going to get us much either way. But Thursday, still lots of data coming out, lots of opportunities for things to move, and we will call it as we see it there. And it's been a very nice trading week so far. So nothing to complain about. And hopefully once, even if Friday's slow, and we have the Super Bowl this weekend and everything else, come next week, hopefully we will have another normal week and back to work in the February of 2015. Have a great weekend. If I don't talk to you before then, charts as usual brought to you by East Signal. We'll be in the lab helping you out.